The Oscars! God damn it, we love them.
Oof. I wish the Oscars loved the Oscars. Do you remember a time when it was about celebrating movies, and now it's somehow turning into and I loved the circus as a kid, but this is turning into a sideshow of not even Guillermo del Toro proportions, because his sideshow in Nightmare Alley was a good place. It was a wholesome place. They looked after each other, unless you were the geek. If you were the geek, you were kind of fucked.
Yeah, you were not kind of fucked. You were fucked.
But otherwise, everybody else looked after each other. I mean,
yeah,
you watch that movie, everybody's being super sweet.
Yeah, it's become a sideshow, become a bit of a circus. It seems like they care. Well, they've never cared about movies. It's always been about ratings for ABC. But yeah, it seems like movies are an afterthought for the Oscars. Like, oh yeah, we actually have to present awards too at this whole sideshow. Yeah, it's like the people who drink coffee with their creamer is what it's turned into. The movies are now the coffee, and everything else associated with it is the creamer.
And it's truly bizarre. It is truly bizarre. Like the joke about I've got a movie nobody's watched. It was The Last Duel. And I don't know if the joke was, and someone said this, and I have to agree with them. I don't know if the joke was nobody watched The Last Duel or that none of the voters watched The Last Duel.
I think it's going to be a little comedy. I'm not sure if I assumed they were taking a shot at its poor box office run.
Which why? Why? People that worked on that movie are in the goddamn room.
Yeah, if anybody, you take a shot at Ridley Scott's reaction to the poor box office run. That's where the joke is.
Yes. You poke fun at that stuff. No issue, no argument. But at some point, the jokes became about making fun of the people in the room, and you lose me at that point. You lose a lot of people at that point.
Which is why we're taking this platform to announce that Douglas Davis and I will be hosting the Oscars in 2023.
I guarantee you and the rest of the Paprika staff will do a much better job of writing the scripts than we've seen previously.
Yeah. It's more of a circus inside show. But anyways, man, it's 63, episode 63 of the Cine Man, our post-Oscar show. When you last left the heroes, we did our usual 6 mini episodes, as we do for a fourth time, man. Leading up to the Oscars, I always highly enjoy doing those shows with you. And we get to do a little bit of a recap. This is, at the time of recording, the day after. It's not even been 24 hours. This is still red carpet 24 hours ago. Unless
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Award season is quote unquote officially at an end for about 3 months.
You know, you say that, but yesterday during the Oscars, someone was like, everything everywhere all at once. Oscars 2023. I was like, fuck you. Fuck you.
I would have said fuck you because we can't find it anywhere in our goddamn. I got to drive up to Maryland here in a couple days, and I'm like, maybe I can find it somewhere up there.
Apparently, April 8th, it is going wider.
I would be trying to find it before then.
Well, good luck. Good luck. I hope you do. I hope you have a great time.
For those of you Paprikans in Maryland, you'll have no idea when I'm actually in town. Yeah, man. So we just want to, kind of recap the most magical night in movies, and we thought about a good topic. We haven't had too many traditional topics to really get this year on a rolling. Our favorite Best Picture winners, getting back to more traditional, even though we won't have challenges. Episode of the Sound Man. We were supposed to have some guests. They didn't quite work out, but don't worry, we'll have some more for you down the road. So you wanna get into some stuff you've seen recently, or do you just want to get into the wild shit in general?
Let's do the positive. Let's talk about the stuff we've seen recently before we get into the wild shit.
Okay. Then.
I feel like some people are going to be like, oh, damn it. Why don't they give us timestamps so I can get to the wild shit? Because we want you to listen to this stuff too. Because we, and also that's on the Cinnamon, we trade in celebrating movies and not on shitting on the industry as a whole, because at least as far as I'm concerned, and honestly, to dip a toe in the Oscar talk, Jessica Chastain as an individual, I have so much respect for her. She apparently showed up early to the non recorded portion to watch some of the below the line, if you will, as they've been described, awards, to show support for those portions, whether Tammy Faye was nominated or not in those categories. She showed up and did that. She used her time to talk about it. She talked about it in advance of the ceremony, and not a lot of people were using their clout to talk about this. She ended up winning. And whatever you might say about the film or her performance compared to the others, I know I really liked her performance and gave my reasons in a previous show. I respect the shit out of someone that not only says something that matters, but then does something to back and to demonstrate that it's true. So I at least want to applaud that and share a moment for that. But I came to the awards late because I was watching the Tony Hawk documentary Until the Wheels Fall Off. And y'all, this was directed by Sam Jones, had its world premiere at South by Southwest, which ended like a week ago. It comes to HBO on April 5th. Whether you are a skateboarding casual, you've played every pro skater game that there is, or you just like the music that culture is known for including, this documentary is fantastic. It is 2 hours, 8 minutes, just under 2 hours, 9. I was in it, man. I was in it. I was a little disappointed that it's the second documentary I've watched about Tony Hawk or involving Tony Hawk specifically that did not discuss Gleaming the Cube. It lost half a star just for that.
Stop talking about the 900. Talk more about Gleaming the Cube.
It took them so long to get to the 900.
Yeah.
Although, and I have to give them credit for the things that were, I'm old enough to have, while I did not skate, I knew of Tony Hawk and I knew of the 900 and the instance in June of 99 when it happened. But what I love about this documentary is that with the editing of it, it just zooms. It just truly does. Story flows naturally into story. It's edited in such a way that it sounds like one person's responding to another person to a degree. They've got archive footage, television newsreels, all kinds of stuff. But when we get to the 900 and Hawk attempting it, everything sort of slows down. And we just watch it one after the other. And I knew what was going to happen. But by this point, we've been learning about Hawk psychologically, personally, stuff that led him to this moment. So taking the time to watch him try, fail, and keep trying and failing until he does it, my fist went straight into the air. I was like, I knew he was going to do it.
Like, you know, the fact that they just stopped the entire competition, if I recall, and all the competitors are like, no. Let him have his space. Give him a couple of runs. And I was like, this motherfucker really is the GOAT of skateboarding.
Yeah. And they talk about in the documentary how if it had been any other sport, the clock would have run out. They would have been like, okay, we're moving on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But with skateboarding, they went, no, we want to see this happen. Tony can make this happen. We're going to give him the time to do it. Yep. And so if, again, whether you're a casual or you're remotely familiar, if you know what the 900 is, you're going to want to check this thing out. It comes available on HBO Max as well as HBO proper on April 5th, I think starting at 9 p.m. So that is definitely worth checking out if you want to stream it. Another streaming movie that was fine, but if you're curious, I'd recommend checking it out. Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood, the Richard Linklater joint that's coming to Netflix April 1st, I believe. This is not, I repeat, not an April Fool's joke, but it is Linklater doing another rotoscope story. And it's takes place during the space race era in Houston, Texas. Kids growing up, and according to him, he gets picked up by NASA. Hey, we fucked up our math and we built the space shuttle too small. You'll fit perfectly. Your scores are great at school. You're this, you're that. You get to do a test run for us and be the unofficial first person on the moon. The problem is it's so weighted in nostalgia, it almost comes out as a here's a list of shows I watched, here's a list of places we went to. And that even with Jack Black narrating it as the older version of this kid, the story of the kid training to go to the moon is way more fascinating. We spend too little time on it.
No.
But if you do like Linkletter stories, then for that minimum, it's worth checking out. Also streaming on Netflix, that's for our animation fans and anime fans, a movie called Adam by Eve, a live in animation. It's about 50-ish minutes long. It is essentially a concert with a story. And it's the artist Eve, who has done, I think, music for Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen, and as well as other things. But it's this musician and a story about a girl who disappears and her best friend looking for her. Bunch of animation, bunch of live music. It's interesting. And when it got to songs I was familiar with, it was great. When it got to songs I was less familiar with, due to the really fast editing, it became hard to focus and retain any details, because it was just like cut. That, and then stuff that wasn't moving that fast was so long and repetitive that you're like, was there no other shots available? It's like, if it was a music video, no problem, but as a longer story, it became harder to stay locked into. But the animation portion is pretty fantastic. And then last but not least, a film that's coming available on VOD April 5th and for purchase May 10th. That's right. Is a movie called Midnight. It's a Korean thriller. Cannot recommend this movie enough. Cannot. It was fucking great. It is a directorial debut from, and I hope I pronounced this right, Kwang Oh-seung. It's about a deaf witness to a serial killer, and the serial killer trying to track her down that night. Every time you're like, oh, it's going to go this way, something happens. And every time you're like, oh, well, it's been resolved, something else happens. Like, they keep finding really clever ways to play with expectations, but also to sort of weaponize, if you will, social and gender norms, and the way that people, unfortunately, infantilize individuals with disabilities. Oh, well, they can't possibly know what they're talking about. They can't hear, or they can't walk, or they can't speak, or whatever it is. And so that shows up in Midnight in a couple of really interesting ways. So if you are remotely interested, just seek it out, buy it, track it down. There's no bonus features, unfortunately, with the home release, but can't recommend that enough. And that's the quick version of what I have seen lately.
Oh, I saw X, Ty West.
X.
It's a horror movie, man. It's a horror movie that pays its tributes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And this takes place in, I think, Houston is where it takes place at. It knows what it is. It's a little, it toes the line between winking and nodding at the camera and being a legit dope horror movie. I think it has a foot firmly in both elements, not in the way that Hot Fuzz does, where it's straight satire. This is a good horror movie with a couple of winky elements, just to throw a little bit of entertainment out there at you. If you can see this with a crowd that understands what this is, it is a great movie. I did not. And when I spoke with Carol Cole, she also did not have a great crowd either. So It might just be a little something lost in translation, or more niche than they expected it to be. It's about a small troop of people who are trying to get in on the home video boom of the adult industry. And they're renting out a small little cabin that is on this very older couple's land to shoot said story. And they do a little bit of shooting along the way. So, they get road trip out of the way in about the first 20-25 minutes, and then at the end of the first act is when they get there, and things are obviously weird with this old couple that lives in this house, and things get progressively weird. This is one of those movies that takes place in the course of a day, from the time that they get there to the that day and night, and then by the end of the night is where the movie ends at. So it is one of those great encapsulation type joints. Some of the it's a slasher. It is a slasher. So there's a couple of funny deaths. There's a couple of type deaths. A couple of gruesome ones in there as well. Interesting and creative ways to pick your people off one by one. Like I said, there's some good winking and nodding, and there's also some good building of tension as well throughout this movie. And there's also some playing on the expectations. There's certain ways when horror movies are shot, you're like, oh, here comes a jump scare, and then it doesn't happen, and you're like, oh, build up, build up, build up, build up, and a release of a different kind. Because you're like, oh, it didn't come. So a couple of clever bits of setup like that as well. Fairly entertaining. I was impressed by Kid Cudi's character, Scott Muscuddy. Mia Goth also in there. They shot a secret prequel while
I was going
shooting
to
this
ask,
movie.
are you looking forward to that?
Possibly, because Mia Goth is playing two different roles in this movie. She is both the our main protagonist, and she's the old woman who lives in the house. Her old woman acting not great. I'm not sure it's because she's buried under layers of makeup, or because the character she's playing is about 60 years her senior, so there's no real life experience there that she can draw on to help play this character. Besides, just move slow and act like an old person, you know. But this will be about the younger years of this old woman, so I don't think we'll have to deal with all the makeup hindrances that were. So interested to see, because you get no real backstory on these old people, so I'm guessing that prequel will help fill things out a little bit.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, man.
I've only seen Kid Cudi in a few things, but he's always been delightful.
I am not a fan of his music, and so I was like, hey, whatever. He shows up when he shows up. The material they gave him to work with, he really shines in this. And like I said in my review, I would much rather, he's a product of he's a Vietnam soldier. I would much rather see a Vietnam prequel with his character than I would the prequel that they actually made with Mia Goth's character, because he is such a cool, laid back dude. I would like to see how they translated that during the chaos shit show that was Vietnam.
Interesting.
But
yeah,
unfortunately,
you talking about this stuff, I'm kind of like, maybe I want to see X. All the slasher stuff, I don't think I do.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. You know, I'm not even sure what I was like, I gotta get some fucking reviews written, so let me go watch something. And I'm not sure what possessed me to go watch. Because it was A24. That's why. And I was like, well, you know, I can stomach an A24 joint even if I'm not a big fan of slashers. And I came out surprisingly surprised at it. I think it is good enough for your staunch horror fans to limp you along until like the quote unquote real shit hits in September, October. It's a good little filler for you, right?
Which, real quick, by the way, if you haven't seen it, just to recommend to you, Daryl, as well as anyone else, Need Ted Face the Music. Kid Cudi is in that, and he's great in both of them.
Bill and Ted Face the Music. Yeah,
yeah, he plays Kid Cudi, but he's a version of Kid Cudi that, whether I don't know the man personally, but apparently, well, not apparently, in the movie, does a lot of explaining of space-time, quantum mechanics, whatever else.
That is themes throughout his first album. They had, I think it was 2001, on mute on loop for days as they wrote and recorded the album. So it has kind of that ethereal type feel to it as well. Him and Kanye did a lot with space throughout that movie. And his first album,
nothing about him as a musician,
broken up into acts, which I thought was interesting, that first album. And I think he's also in Don't Look Up.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he is. He's hilarious.
So that's a movie. And I also saw a Bulgarian joint, man. I've decided I'm coming up with a new long-term goal.
Okay.
With no real end date. I want to see at least one movie from every country on the planet.
Right on.
And this is a Bulgarian joint, man, from 2020 called Fear, directed by Avilo Hristov. If you're listening, Mr. Hristov, all apologies. It was Bulgarian's entry into this past Academy Awards, which makes no sense because this is 2020. It might have had a 2021 US release, though. It's about a Bulgarian village near the Turkish border. A unemployed school teacher runs into a refugee. They've been having a lot of refugee issues, which you hear about throughout the beginning of this movie. And this one kind of is wandering by her land when she comes onto it. An African dude from Mali, and he's attempting to get to Germany, and he's on foot, just walking. It's just him in his backpack. So it becomes like your standard odd couple-ish type joint. Is the initial hostility like, hey, you damn refugees, you got to get out of here. And then she just kind of takes pity on him. She tries to take him to the refugee center where they're packed to the gills and they have no place to put him at. And then, she lets him crash on the couch. And then in that, the seeds of the relationship is born. Unfortunately, the rest of the town is not having any parts of this. And they want this black man out of their town as soon as humanly possible. And no one is standing up for this man but her. And through the exploration of their relationship, you find out what a kind, gentle man he is. He's a doctor by trade. So even though people fucking hate his guts, he still helps them out, in small ways. And it's just all about the building of the relationship between these two characters. And it's just a nice, beautiful story. There's some unexpected bits of belly laugh comedy throughout it as well, mostly from his delivery and his reaction. There's a communication barrier. She doesn't speak English and he doesn't speak Bulgarian, so they find odd ways to communicate with each other, and also sometimes they're just responding to what they imagine the other one could be saying. Even it's a dramatic irony because when she's speaking, we get subtitles. So we can see what both sides are saying. So she could be like, get out of here. And he'll be like, it is a nice day today, isn't it? So there's little bits of comedy all throughout. And they also play that as little heartfelt joints as well. It's really good movie, man. I really dug the shit out of it. So right. Fear, if you find a place to check it out, Film Movement are the ones distributing it. So go ahead and check that out. Fear. The Bulgarian joint they put up did not make the list for international though.
I was taking a look at IMDb about it, and apparently it had a Santa Barbara International Film Festival premiere in April of 2021, something like that.
So that's how they snuck it in.
That's the most it has screened in the US, if IMDb is accurate. So Film Movement has it. That's at least good because they tend to release a lot of really interesting international films. I haven't watched as many of them as I would have liked.
I'm all over some Film Movement, man. Whenever I'm like, what kind of weird little, they send other emails like, here's this I saw Vietnamese horror that they did last year that was really fucking dope. So I'm always on the eyeball. They're my international connects, man. I like me some Film Movement. So Fear, good joint, and it was like 100 minutes, so it was pretty damn quick. It was in and out. Enjoyed it. So that's it, man. I only got those two I want to talk about.
No.
I was gonna see The Outfit, that little Rylance joint, but then some life shit got in the way. Didn't get a chance to get out to the theater, but fuck life.
The bastard. Always getting in the way.
Always getting in the way of the good shit, man. So yeah, let's get us some Oscar talk in, man, on the way. So the show came and went, man. What did you think?
Well, I'm going to be as I said before we started recording. I came late to watching the Oscars because I was watching the Tony Hawk documentary. Again,
the Tony Hawkumentary, you mean?
The Hawkumentary, that is correct. It's about, what did I say, 2 hours, 9 minutes, something like that. I started it around 7:15, 7:30. So I didn't come downstairs until well after 9 o'clock. By that point, I was downstairs just before We Don't Talk About Bruno happened. I heard about a few things, and then, of course, the rest of the evening occurred. I am very happy for Ariana DeBose, not just because she's from North Carolina, but because it was a great supporting role. It really was. It is admittedly very frustrating that she is the second Latinx, I think, individual to have won that award. And the first one was Rita Moreno for the same role.
That lets you know how fucking strong that role was written when they originally laid it down.
Great role, and evidently two great performances. I've never seen the original. But very happy about that. I am pissed as hell that ABC or the Academy decided, you know what, we're going to cut out these 8 categories to tighten the runtime, but we're going to add these other things. And by the way, they cut 8 categories and it was still longer than last year when they did all of them.
Yep.
So we have the metrics on that shit. But then they keep hyping up, we're going to do the first ever live performance of Bruno, like the fucking song from the Encanto soundtrack. Even my 16-month-old knows Nuna Bruno. Like, he makes a sound that is very clearly he knows the song. And it's fucking adorable. But not only was it not the full song, but it was some Oscar specific version
remix
with a performer, which, I mean, even if it was a performer I knew, I still wouldn't have enjoyed it. But I didn't. Apparently it's Megan Thee Stallion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Stallion.
No idea. I know of her from news, but I've never listened to her music.
Never heard WAP, huh?
What was that?
Said never heard WAP, huh?
Don't need to listen to a song when I never had to worry about missing it at all.
Okay, there you go.
I don't have to imagine that stuff. I don't have to listen to it if I want it around my ears. Anyway, this is so.
I was talking about whack ass podcasts.
I misunderstood. I'm so sorry. But anyway, but that sort of gets to the point. Is the song itself? It took on these different connotations, like listening to her lyrics. They were very specific about the Oscars, but then they made some other references. And it's like, this is you're doing a live performance of this song, and this is where you take it. Where is the celebration of the song, the celebration of the movie? And then it got turned into a remix that wouldn't even play on the radio because it's not very long and isn't even a full version of the song. It made no sense to me from concept and execution why they felt this was a good use of time, other than, as Hunter Heilman, fellow NCFCA member, pointed out, and SEFCA member pointed out, oh yeah, ABC's owned by Disney. No wonder. No. Shit. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why.
It's like, why is BTS talking about their favorite Disney movies?
Exactly. It's that good old corporate synergy is what that was all about. This was a Lemony Snicket's Oscar, just a series of unfortunate events, starting with the I can't remember which came first. If it was
chicken.
If it was the announcement that there was going to be a fan favorite, and then they announced that they're not even going to do the below the line, whichever came first, I was like, we're starting off a little bit iffy. And then we had whatever the second one was, and I was like, oh boy, shit's digging a hole.
I got on Twitter after my documentary lit up, and all I saw was, we've entered the Speed Force. What the fuck is going on?
That whole thing. Oh. So, I called it maybe 10 minutes after it was announced. I was like, oh, we're going to get the Snyder Bros. They're going to hop on. They're going to vote for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And they're like, Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't eligible for the fan favorite joint or whatever. And I was like, okay, so they're still going to default to the other Zack Snyder movie that came out. They're going to go prop up Army of the Dead for their boy. And that's exactly what happened. The fan favorite voting was joke, as referenced by the results of said bit of business. I think I know that some people speculate that they came up with it in order to give the MCU a Give Me award. That didn't work. That's probably also a stupid theory in the first place. But the whole category hopefully is a one and done. Hopefully they've learned their lesson, and hopefully if they do it again, I can vote for Green Knight 1,000,000 times. It was just not what we should expect out of a performance. I'm okay with comedy bits, but I'm also okay with this. Just show up, you introduce your clips, you give it to the person, and let them do their speech, and then you get on to the next thing. It's beginning to be, like I said on Twitter, like the Ian Malcolm, you will have Oscars on your Oscar performance, right? It seems like there's longer and longer amounts of time in between these awards giving out, and for people like us who are fans of film, who love celebrating this medium, we just want to see people get their due shine and cheer them on, or in my case, boo loudly from my couch.
You can't boo from within the room. They look down on that.
Hey, there's other stuff that they look down on that certainly happened on this show. Slap! Let's talk about it. What? So were you watching when the slapping went down?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I need to contextualize this response. I did not grow up in a very calm household. So my stomach immediately turned sour and I was on edge for the rest of the night. After that. Now, apparently, there's history here. It wasn't just last night.
Yeah.
And Chris Rock has apparently made jokes about Jada before. ABC has apparently by this point, this evening, almost 24 hours since it began broadcasting, that his joke was ad-libbed. He added it. He thought it was a good idea. So either they are disavowing him entirely to try and distance themselves, or he legitimately went and added his own thing. He's a professional comedian. I've enjoyed many of his stand-ups. That, again, it goes back to our earlier comment of why are we making fun of the people in the room? Why are we making fun of the art? It got personal real quick. Now, Crystal and I, at first, we thought it was a joke until the audio cut out and you could read Will Smith's lips. The man who wrote a song and performed it about how he doesn't cuss. At like the height of Eminem, he was like, I'm going to do a hit song about how I'm family friendly and I'm going to stay this way. Dude was pissed.
Yeah, y'all got to know the real Will Smith for a little bit. My favorite Will Smith. I'm of all sorts of different minds on this, but it boils down to both are in the wrong for two completely different reasons. Chris Rock obviously being in the wrong for making that joke when he knows the medical condition that Jada has. And it was just a old stale. It was a toss away joke. You don't get slapped over a throwaway joke. But yeah, that's not one you say in the first place. Will Smith in the wrong for slapping Chris Rock where cameras were present. That's where he went wrong.
Okay, quick question. Because of your phrasing, I'm going to parse that out a little bit just to see if I understood it. Is he in the wrong for doing it where cameras are present, or was he in the wrong for doing it? Was he in the wrong for slapping him at all? And cameras were present.
No, I have no issues with the slap. But you don't do that shit in front of millions of people for a couple of different reasons. One, this is a live broadcast. I understand you're upset. Man, you take that shit to the back. At the very least, you take that shit to the back. You wrinkle up his tuxedo a little bit and say, hey, this is the shit you don't say about my wife. If you want to throw a slap in there, throw a slap in there. Cool. But this has set Black people back for years. I would not be surprised if Will Smith never gets an Oscar again, no matter how good his roles are. I would not be surprised if Will Smith is ever invited to the Oscars again. I would not be surprised if Chris Rock is never invited to the Oscars again. And I genuinely love seeing Chris Rock at the Oscars. So, and a lot of people seem to be of the opinion that we won't get another Black Best Actor winner out of this for quite some time.
To me, that's just the biggest amount of bullshit. And of course, I can't speak for the community, their culture, not even a little bit. I have none of that lived experience at all. But I hate that notion. It's like Catwoman came out and some other female, Electra, came out. And people were like, see, we can't do women-led movies because they were just bad movies. That had nothing to do with it. So, and I also feel horrible for the Williams sisters.
They took two strays.
This is twice.
Yeah.
Two different times. Oh, we're going to celebrate our movie. It's going to be great. We did this thing to honor our father. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, that movie's cursed. You got Jane Campion shitting all over you. Then you got getting people slapped up all over the place. It's it's an interesting situation. I hate to be the guy that says I see it from all sides. I see it more from Will Smith's side than I do from Chris Rock's side. But there are definitely issues to be had with Will Smith's outward aggression of violence. The fact that he went from 0 to 100 is completely unacceptable. That's when you use the words you've grown up with all your life. If you're going to be a rapper, you know words. Use those words. And it should not take Puff Daddy to de-escalate any situation in the year 2022. That was his job in 1993. All right, we don't need anything like that happening.
He has experience. If anybody has survived,
yeah, it's good old Diddy. It makes for. It got people talking about the Oscars, so that's great for the Academy. But it is horrible
not in a
for
good way.
Not in a good way. But if it raises numbers, all ABC cares about is fucking numbers. It's ultimately not the end of the career for Will Smith. It's the end of his Oscars glory. Chris Rock will be just fine.
Well, and here's the thing: if the Academy, if you want to discuss them as a voting body, okay, if we talk about them in that regard, then their memory is not so long, because you've got plenty of people, plenty of still active individuals that have been awarded Oscars that have done worse shit than Will Smith just did.
Yeah, but they didn't do it at their institution. And some of those people have different things about them that Will Smith does not have, or that Will Smith does have that they don't have.
Your less than veiled suggestion is that he has more melanin.
Melanin is the word. The Sesame Street letter of the day starts with M for melanin,
which is another reason why it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, and who knows? We might be wrong. We might be 100% wrong. Will Smith 3 years down the road can come out with some new wild shit and he gets nominated again. That's a possibility. I just don't see it happen. Who knows? Maybe I Am Legend 2 ends up being better than we all think it is, because I am dying to know what Michael B. Jordan has in mind for that movie. But we shall see. Yeah, it's the most talked about. It sucks that worse than that is Will Smith's Oscar speech. There's certain things that were red flags, certain things that he was certainly lacking. And for me, the two main things he was lacking is, one, there was no apology to Chris Rock, as I remember. But if you feel like you got to slap a motherfucker, then no apology needed. You slap the motherfucker. But most importantly, no apology to Questlove. And that's what bothers me the most. You overshadow Questlove's, as far as I know, first Oscar ever. The first time you're nominated, first nomination, first win, man, that's huge.
Yeah, and for his directorial debut.
In a documentary that just blazed all trails last year and took all the awards. This was the culmination of all of that. And that all got completely stepped on due to this event.
A lot of people commented that he didn't even apologize to Jada or anything like that. Didn't even bring her up. But my feeling on that is, we're not Will's parents. He spoke to Jada afterwards. I mean, he talked to Denzel and some other folks too. So I suspect he said what he needed to say to her. It would have been nice if he'd said something to acknowledge it to the Williams sisters, to Venus and Serena, directly. And if he's done that, then, I mean, at this point, we're getting into punditry territory, and what would we do? And the speech was good, and in terms of trying to thread the needle between making a public apology for his behavior, as well as what this role meant to him and what it signified, I could see what he was doing. But I agree with you. I don't think it entirely stuck the landing. It certainly didn't erase what had happened before. And I think that's why more people were tuning in. They wanted to see what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Twitter just fucking exploded. And that's the most fun I've had on Twitter in quite some time. Yeah, but that and you know, the other things like the whole Amy Schumer, Kirsten Dunst nonsense as
Yeah, that was
well.
just dumb.
That was just dumb. You know,
The Glenn Close thing last year was at least funny. When I found out that it was staged, I was so pissed.
yeah, of course that was staged.
Oh, but she might have known Go-Go.
Okay.
I started learning about Go-Go when I moved to the DMV. You work for WPGC, you learn Go-Go.
You're in the DC area, you're gonna learn your go-go. Gotta love some steel drums. But yeah, I think we just need to. I'm all for progression, but in a case like this, man, I'm all about regression. Just give me a nice, calm. They come out, they present the awards, come back to showing me some clips, and then let the focus be on the speeches. And if you have to, the musical performances, I guess, for your original songs, which I really don't give a shit about. Definitely not Billie Eilish winning. But yeah, just give me back the focus on the speeches and the winners and them celebrating their big night.
I'm totally fine with original song getting a chance to be played, simply because whether I like the song or not, if it's being nominated, a simple clip doesn't really do the job. And personally, I did like and still do like No Time to Die. I liked when it came out in 2020. It was a 2021.
No,
2021.
2021, yeah. Nah, no, thank you. There was something else. Oh, and then the fact that they earlier in the day announced that they weren't going to attach the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, which was apparently going to be a thing at one point. And I was like, y'all are just butterfingers with every possible W you could give yourselves.
I mean, the Oscars are the Super Bowl of movies. And so the fact that they weren't running new trailers, announcing things in between, that feels like the time you would want to do that. I mean, yes, if you are going to, if we look at the Oscars as absolute glad handing, it is part of the marketing machine to get people interested in people that may not have watched Coda 2 days ago, might be interested in Coda now, for example, the new Best Picture winner, and a number of other films that won awards. People may not have heard of Flea before yesterday, and unfortunately, that didn't get the accolades I felt it deserved.
People might not know what Dune is.
Yeah, let's not get so far ahead of ourselves. Everybody knows what Dune is. I mean, shit.
Damn right.
One of the home release groups I follow, MVD Entertainment Group, they were like, speaking of Dune, we have the 1984 the David Lynch thing. Get out of here. I was like, well done. Just hop on that train.
You got to use it. Yeah, I'm upset. Like ABC, Disney's your parent company. You have a Disney movie waiting in the wings. At the very least, a quick Strange teaser. Or Thor Love and Thunder. Give me something. I remember 2 years ago, we at least got the shittiest trailer for The Irishman, which was all audio and no visual over a black screen. But it was something. It was just dialogue. And then I think like text over a black screen at the end. I was like, okay, that's
Did it say
something.
We Paint Houses?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, really?
Because Al Pacino tells Bob De Niro, I heard you paint houses. That's what it was. It was
okay.
that, just that.
I was trying to be silly. I couldn't remember.
Exactly what it was. And I was like, that's enough for now for me. But even that was something. Not throwing trailers in the thing that's publicly celebrated for movies. Ridiculous. But anyways, do you have anything else that you want to talk about before the
one thing I want to talk about, because lies travel faster than truth, is apparently it's been going around.
Yes, I was at the Oscars.
Lie. No, but
I was right behind Will, like, you gonna take that shit, Will?
Ooh, buddy. But like I came downstairs and Crystal told me that that during the awards presentation, the 3 actors that were doing the nominees and all that other stuff, they were 2 out of 3 had been live action princesses. One was going to be. One was playing Jasmine for The Little Mermaid. And the way that she told me it went down, and I've seen this quote going around, is that animation is for kids and it's something that parents must endure. Well, after hearing about it and seeing Phil Lord tweet about it and being like, what absolute bullshit is this? And understandably, the guy has been either directing or producing some of the best or well-regarded animation of recent memory, between helping to produce Mitchell's versus Machines, which I would have preferred won the Oscar for that. Excuse me, for that category. He was part of the directing team for Spider-Verse. He's been part of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and some other films. Yeah, what was actually going on with the quote was something to the effect of, we had the honor of being the live action versions of characters that as children and many other children watched incessantly. We would watch it over and over and over and over and over. At which point the actor who played Jasmine in the live action Aladdin went, oh, and I can see parents in the audience, you know what we're talking about. That's not saying parents endure it. It's that communal thing of, my child loves a movie, they watch it too much. It's the fact that in order to get some work done, we sometimes put on Encanto for Preston, who will watch it 4 times, stand absolutely still, and watch it 4 times in a row. When I put him down for a nap, I put Encanto on my iPod, I set it to repeat, and it plays 30-minute loop until he wakes up. There are movies, it wasn't what they said, did not make fun of the medium, did not make fun of the form of storytelling. It was making a joke about parents having to watch the same movie over and over again. I immediately looked at Crystal and went to explain it, and I go, Zoo. It's Zoo. And she just started laughing and smiling. When Connor was this age, as Preston is, he would watch Zootopia. Yeah. But he couldn't say Zootopia. Zoo. Put on Zoo. We'd watch Zoo. Zoo would end. Zoo would watch again. For our 5th anniversary, we went to the beach. We took the Apple TV. I have a photo of Preston and a video, but of not Preston, Connor standing on my foot. It's like 8 or 9 at night. He wouldn't go to sleep. What's he doing? Zoo. He's watching Zoo. That movie got a lot of play. Antelope Shakira.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's something I didn't want to point out.
For my daughter, her mom handles all of that. And then when she's over here, I'm like, let me show you what Star Wars is, kid. And I handle some of the live action training over here or my parents. But yeah, the interpolation, the misinterpolation, I guess, yeah, I can almost understand, but no, it grew legs too fast and spread too far before anyone tried to rein it back in. It is what it is. Animation is great if you love it.
Yeah. And there's so many different kinds. Different forms.
When Encanto won, I was like, no Douglas Davidson this year. So I felt sorry for you. I thought Mitchell's versus Machines had a chance. But you never bet against Disney when they've won something like 20 or 19 of the last 21 or something crazy like that.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. But hey, at least Spider-Verse is one of those 2.
Yeah, I am grateful for that. I mean, I would have been okay if Flea had won. And it's not that I don't like Encanto. Encanto is a great movie. I find something new every time I watch it, and I've enjoyed it more and more with every rewatch. But do I think it was the best movie? No.
I also find something new when I watch Encanto, and that's because I'm cleaning and I'm like, oh, that's where I put that thing. Let's get to our top 3, our theme for the day, man. Our theme for this episode, what is it? Please, Douglas, lay it on us.
Oh, no. It's we decided to talk about our favorite Best Picture winners of the 94 winners that we have, Coda being the new one. Mm-hmm. I was not aware, or if I was, I forgot. Apparently, Coda is a remake of a French film.
Yeah.
The La Famille Belair from 2014.
Which in itself is, I think it was a remake too.
What was that?
Which in itself is a remake or an adaptation of something else.
Maybe. And it's just that sometimes it's like, really, y'all? I mean, it's not that the best picture has to be an original story. I'm totally fine with adaptations. It was just like this one was barely like it's not even past its expiration date, 2014. Like, really?
Hey, you said they have short memories, my friend.
They do. They do. They do. But Coda is our new best picture winner, and it joins the likes of My Fair Lady, West Side Story, the aforementioned, On the Waterfront, Gone with the Wind, The Godfather, and The Godfather Part 2. Part 3 was not on the list that I saw this morning. So
no. It was nominated, but
so that's the list we are pulling from, the Amadeus of it all. So what is your first favorite?
My first favorite, man, I'm going old school with it. Casablanca. I can't not talk about Casablanca. That movie is perfect. Directed by Michael Curtis, I do believe. It's man, it's Humphrey Bogart to me at his most Bogartiest. There's only one Humphrey Bogart movie I like more than this, and that's Maltese Falcon, which lost to fucking How Green Is My Valley. Which also is what Citizen Kane, How Great Is My Valley, and the Maltese Falcon were all the same year. And I'm like, you could have given it to Citizen Kane or Maltese Falcon, and I would have been happy with either one of them. How Great Is My Valley? It makes me mad every time I think about it. But yeah, Casablanca it's Bogart. Bacall is razor sharp. It's the script is witty as all hell. The set design of Blaine's bar is wonderful. The interaction on Sidney Greenstreet, my man. I love that guy and everything he's in. He's in this and he's in Maltese Falcon, both. And I just, every time I watch this movie, people, when something gets too popular is when people really start shitting on it. Like right now, we're in the age everyone's shitting on the MCU because it's so popular. And I still see people today like Casablanca is kind of whack. And I'm like, motherfucker, sit down and reevaluate that movie and don't just follow the trends of shitting on popular things. Casablanca is supremely dope. Just because it's in black and white does not mean it is boring. Doesn't mean it's too old or stuffy or prestigious for your tastes. I love that movie due to the direction, set design, cinematography, the performances, the pacing of that movie. It snaps. It's never slow. Casablanca #1. I love that movie.
I am just going to jump in with my first one in chronological order, being Casablanca, quite literally on my list. I have you to thank for crossing it off my list of shame. According to IMDb, it is still available on HBO Max for streaming if you have a subscription. I highly recommend it. I was one of those where there's certain films that I've heard so much about that to a point it's kind of like, do I really need to see this? Do I really have to? Whatever. I just haven't had an interest. Certainly being the sort to not grow up with Christmas being a big thing, seeing
It's a Wonderful Life.
Thank you. It's a Wonderful Life was never high on my list. It was always on television.
Still isn't high on my list.
I will say though, I had the opportunity to review it for the 4K release. It is good. Like, it was way better than I expected. Casablanca fit the same thing. I also went into Casablanca with the expectation of it being a pretty strict war drama, and it ended up being a film of many shades. And I certainly wasn't expecting not only the wonderful comedy and timing in it, but certainly how frequently I was like, wait, oh, that's from that. So I'm particularly looking forward to, I believe this year is its 80th anniversary. Yeah, 1942. It's its 80th anniversary. Rumor is that it's getting a 4K release this year. I can't fucking wait. Give it to me.
I think Fathom Events is doing a Casablanca show, a couple of Casablanca showings. And I think I might have just missed all of them because I completely forgot about it. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that, Joy, sir.
Oh, I absolutely loved it, and it makes me realize there's some other Bogart films that I should certainly check out. I mean, there's one of the things I was doing last year was using my nights off to watch movies to help fill some of those gaps, and something I'm doing this year is taking nights off. So I've actually got a Satoshi Kon Tokyo Godfather sitting over I'm staring at it right now, and I still haven't watched it. I've had it since
You got
December.
Tokyo Godfather?
I do.
I also have not watched that, and I've been meaning to check that out. So
I
if you
finally
do,
watched Millennium Actress. It's available on a limited edition Blu-ray through Shout Factory. It's already out on Blu-ray. It's so good. I still haven't seen Paprika. I want to check out Paprika and Perfect Blue. I saw the documentary Satoshi Kon, The Illusionist, back in the fall, and ever since I've wanted to make a point to check these out. But so I'll get to them eventually. I need time off too. I need to breathe.
Casablanca was fucking January.
You bastard.
God,
What were you doing? You were on vacation.
I was. And I feel like me and Carol Coles of Read Fried Scenes fame went and saw
Not Casablanca.
Macbeth together. And we saw I think it had to have been
your way face.
Yeah, and we saw a ad for the Casablanca 80, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna check this out. And then we just didn't.
Well, that is in fact how it goes. How did you miss it? You didn't see it.
I didn't see it, man. That and Lawrence of Arabia are going to be two that really piss me the F off. My second one of the list.
Also getting a 4K release this year.
It is. When I just bought my Blu-ray last year, and I'm already kind of salty about that. I just took Lawrence of Arabia off this list, like maybe 10 minutes before we started recording for The Departed. Listen, everyone that knows me knows that I love crime movies. Outside of science fiction, crime is where I am most comfortable. I think it's where you find humans at their most human. Sometimes
you do know that we're being recorded.
yes.
Crime is where I'm most comfortable.
Play it back for the evidence, because when I do some shady shit, they'll be like, "Oh, he did that shit." It's seeing people in these desperate situations, doing these desperate things. I love watching all of that. Especially crime noir, any of that. That's my love for Maltese Falcon. Kind of plays into effect there, but I love a great crime story. And you give me a crime story that's told by Scorsese, one of the best American crime directors there is. Leo is still, or is starting to really sizzle here. You give Mark Wahlberg like the most Mark Wahlberg character there is, so he really shines, because outside of this, he's whack. Alec Baldwin, man, when he pops up in there, and he's just like, everything's a punchline with Alec Baldwin in that movie. I loved Martin Sheen in this. There's so much good shit happening. I think it's the last great Nicholson, because he wanted to come back and do like one more good. He'd had too long a run of comedies, and he's like, I need to get back to my grimy ass roots. And this is what we get out of it. And Matt Damon is just a fuck in this movie, and it's this stew of all these people swirling all around each other, and it's just great. It's great. It is, I think, one of Scorsese's most tense movies. Like he knows how to ratchet up the tension, and there's definitely tension in bits and pieces of Goodfellas and stuff like that, but not quite like here in The Departed. Like, you don't get a whole lot of tension and silence, or The Last Temptation of Christ. Really, like he knows how to just ratchet it up a little bit and ratchet up a little bit more. As far as remakes go, I think The Departed is one of the best remakes American that we have. It's just a good crime flick, man. That's what it is. Like, you walk out and you're like, that was just a fucking good movie. And that whole third act of bam, 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 bam. It's like shit. Who's coming out of this alive? I love all parts of that, man. It is one of those ones that I think Infernal Affairs is here, and Departed is just a little bit above it.
That answers my question. I haven't seen Infernal Affairs. I keep meaning to, and apparently there's multiple. Like it's a series.
Yeah, 3 or 4 Infernal
Affairs. I didn't realize it was a series until more recently.
Who's in the first one is your boy Tony Leung.
So good. That's so sexy, beautiful man.
Sexy, beautiful man. That's one of the first Netflix discs I ever got.
Infernal Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'll add it to the list. We'll see if I eventually get to Tokyo Godfathers.
Number 4078, Infernal Affairs.
Eventually. I think that's a good pull. I think that's a good pull. It is a good Scorsese movie of the ones that I've seen, and I agree with just about everything that you said. It is an entertaining film that I have not gone back and rewatched.
I will admit, I've seen the part so many times. I will admit that this is his give me, but I'm okay with that because he deserved.
Well, my number two is probably the one film that you and everyone listening will immediately go, well, that's it. We're tired of listening to this asshole. But when we decided we were going to do this category, I went, I'm going to put this one on there because it is one of my favorite movies. I haven't watched it in probably a decade or more, but it's comedy, it's a love story, and it's got a bit with a dog. And really, that's all that you need. That's right. It's Shakespeare in Love.
Oh, just fucking, this is my second most hated best picture of all time. God, I get so mad when I think about 1998.
when this movie came out, I was 98. Yeah. So it would have been 99. The 99 Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
This was my senior year of high school, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. The whole thing was just a fucking mess. Like
the movie,
my parents,
yes.
No. My parents were separating. I was dating a girl at the time. My mom bought a house right next to the house the girl I was dating at the time was living in. I was starting over fresh my senior fucking year of high school. Like there was this whole thing, and it all exploded by the end of the year. It was great. But I was taking, because at the time I was hoping to be an English teacher, I was taking these Shakespeare classes, and Shakespeare in Love came out. And it's this movie that, while it is an adaptation of Twelfth Night, it's also just picking and choosing from the various Shakespearean stories that I still love. And it was written and directed, or just written by? Yeah, co-written by Tom Stoppard, who did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which I fucking love. Crystal and I have gone to see that play. I own the movie. Like, fucking love Tom Stoppard. So for me, this was just win-win. It's just delicious and delightful and great performances from a spectacular cast. Is it for everyone? Fuck no. But it's for me. And that's why it's on my list. My list.
When I saw the show must go on, I was like, fuck you.
I may have to watch that soon.
This is like, there's been best picture winners that I'm like, I don't agree with that. But there's only two I've been outright hostile with, and that's one of them. That's the number one that I'm the most outright hostile. Saving Private Ryan should have won.
And what's number two?
Probably Citizen Kane.
You said that there were two films.
Yeah, the Citizen Kane snub.
Where'd you go?
Yep. Can you not hear me anymore?
What's that?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Daryl?
Hello?
I think my internet is flipping out. It's been doing that lately.
One of our internets is flipping out. I see you.
Sorry about that.
All right, there we go.
It says mine is unstable. Fuck you. You're unstable.
I get that from time to time. No, my other one is probably the Citizen Kane stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you know what's wild is I've seen Citizen Kane, and I don't get it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about it. From what I've heard from people who watch it now, it's like, well, if you see everything that's been stolen from Citizen Kane, if you see Citizen Kane, it doesn't really mean. But if you've never seen a lot of what was done, then it's new and revolutionary to you. So I tried to approach it from that angle, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. But no one talks about how green is my valley these days.
Yeah, but
except in the snub.
Here's the thing. I saw Citizen Kane when I was in undergrad because I was taking film courses, and I changed my majors by this point. And we're watching it, and I'm going, I don't get it. The story didn't compel me. Technically, it could be impressive, but there was nothing about the story, the performances that really grabbed me. Whereas, I'm watching Throne of Blood, which is as old, if not older, even if it's by a few years. I forget, I don't have it in front of me. But like that shit I was on. But then again, it's an adaptation of Shakespeare, and it's directed by Kurosawa. So maybe they had that going for it. But there's just something about Citizen Kane I could never get behind, which is part of, I think, why Mank never did anything for me.
And that hurts me because I love me some Mank too.
And you know what? Continue to love it. Love it more. Love it because I can't.
That's why I live in the first place. My first pick, man, is zero surprise to anybody. It's The Godfather, man. It is one of the most flawless movies ever made. It seems like it's like a 56-42, or maybe even like closer split between who likes one and two part better. 56, yeah, 44. There we go. That makes 100. Yeah, split between, which one is better, part one, part two. I am a fan more of part one than I am part two. I like the rise of Michael Corleone better than I happen to like the fall of Michael Corleone. Just the big lavish party at the beginning. I think Brando is brilliant in this movie, and then when you read about all the hidden cue cards with his lines and all that, like, it makes the production of the movie even better for me. But the fact that the actual mafia itself signed off like, yeah, this is a pretty fucking dope movie, that lends a little bit of credence to it. The fact that they didn't even want Pacino in the first place, they didn't want De Niro in the first place, or I'm sorry, Brando in the first place. It had a uphill battle, and in that uphill battle, they didn't want Coppola in the first place. And what he spat out is an absolute gem of a masterpiece, and it showed you this world that you've never quite seen before, like with these players that you like. There's no heroes to root for in this movie. They're all doing crime, but somehow you still kind of find yourself glommed onto or rooting for Mike to come out of this. Charm all over the screen is still my favorite Tom Hagen, Bobby Duvall performance there is. I love everything about this movie.
If I don't know, he's pretty fun and Gone in 60 Seconds. You really want to...
I mean, he's great in Apocalypse Now, too. If you wake me up at 2 a.m. and you're like, let's watch Godfather, I'll be like, let's give me a second to mix my cocktail, and then we're going to watch us some Godfather, man. I love and adore everything about this movie, man. This look at this seedy underworld that's just right underneath this thin veneer of reputation with their olive oil company. I love it all.
And then, of course, he went from writing The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 and wrote Superman the movie. I mean, Mario Puzo, he knows what's up.
Mario Puzo knows what's up. He laid the seeds for the better movie Superman 2, which I'm all about there. And then, and speaking of going from thing to thing, and then Coppola eventually goes to Jack. But you take your losses with your successes, I guess.
You play with things. You get to a certain level and you just I'll do something for me.
Yeah, I'll do something for me. So something for him did not work, which led to The Godfather 3. The Godfather, my number one favorite Best Picture winner. What is your last pick?
My last pick, again, I'm doing this in chronological order, and is based upon my second one, Shakespeare in Love. I am very much sticking with these are my favorites. And these are my favorites of the winners, not the favorites of who got nominated in the category, but of the winners. So for me, 2015 winner, 2014 movie, Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
That is
I
the
fucking
master
love
class of editing.
Oh, it is just Alejandro Inarritu's. For one, I'm a sucker for any movie that's about making a movie or a play. There's just something about it that I really enjoy.
It was Hollywood.
And this one, what's that?
Well, I said so was Hollywood.
Oh yeah. But this one, it's dark and it's dirty, and it is edited to be like a one shot from beginning to end, but it's got phenomenal performances that make it worth watching. Even if you see the seams of the edits, it is so wonderful. From Andrea Riseborough and Emma Stone, Zach Galifianakis, of course, Michael Keaton leading the entire thing. Ed Norton,
it still makes me think that's exactly what Ed Norton is in real life.
Probably, based on what we hear about the guy. But it has such a great cast. Naomi Watts, of course, also in this. But it is just so raw. And does it help a little bit that Michael Keaton is playing a character who was previously famous for playing a superhero? Possibly. Is it helpful that Birdman is very similar to Batman in style of name and character design? Possibly. But this movie is, the cinematography is amazing. It is gorgeous to look at in several sequences. It is imaginative. It is playful. It is funny. And it is so fucking sad. But what a fuck, like, to quote Pacino, what a picture.
What a picture.
It's to me, it's got everything. And now, keeping in mind, of course, that picking any favorite out of any category, any list, it's all fucking subjective. Everybody's going to have their different ones, but I was looking at the list of films and going by the ones that I've seen and how I feel about them, and just going, one, I'm going to do a chronological because I wanted to mention Casablanca first. But I was looking at this list and just going, Birdman. Like, there's some others on the list. I forget which ones they were now. That was like, ooh, this would be good. And ooh, I really like this one. And then fucking Birdman. Birdman.
Yeah, I came close to Moonlight, but I couldn't not talk.
But then you said La La Land, which was weird.
Warren Beatty actually came in here to do my last pick, but I kicked him out. Now, before we wrap this bad boy up, sir, do you have any parting thoughts? Are you just kind of laying low and relaxing now that award season is over, or is Elements of Madness diving deep into the next bit of nonsense?
Elements of Madness is not diving deep, but we are continuing. I'm actually going to take a week off, which is fucking great. Crystal's birthday's coming up, and we are just coincidentally going to take time off at the same time. But unlike the last two times I took time off, both in October, I only take about 1 week off a year, which is apparently not a good way to live. People tell me, and like, fuck you guys, you're not me, but they're right. But instead of still doing work, I'm actually going to not work at all. Now, of course, I say that, and it's about 2 weeks out from Doctor Strange 2 coming out. That's, of course, when Disney will be like, hey, North Carolina, want to go to a press screening? And I will say, yes, please screen your movie for us here. So if that happens, you're welcome, Daryl. You're welcome. It'll happen during my vacation. Fuck you. You're welcome.
Yeah, but I will take that.
There's some film festivals coming up. I'm hoping to check out the New York Asian Film Festivals coming up in July. I'm hoping to find out how to get accredited for that one. San Francisco International Film Festival's coming up end of April. I'll find out if I'm covering that by the end of this week. And there's some other stuff I'm hoping to sort of play and toy with a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to watch stuff that's fun. And by fun, I mean fun for me.
Yes, so knock out that some of you list. Knock out a bit of to watch business there.
Well, no, I don't even mean like my list of shame or anything like that with Tokyo Godfathers. I mean, like, even for review, I've gotten to a point where I hate the weenus, for you Friends listeners out there, where I keep watching the goddamn numbers and they're not where I want them. But at the same time, I don't want to keep chasing what I think people. Let me just review shit I want to review. So that's what I'm focused on for the rest of this year. I'm just going to be like, hey, that looks fucking cool. I'm going to review that and then pray somebody else wants to read my thoughts on it.
Well, there you go, man. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. Other than love. Those two things.
The Beatles told us that. All right, then that is it for this episode of the Cinnamon. We'll be back some point down the road.
Yeah, you've got your secret trip to Maryland when you get back.
I got my secret trip to Maryland. And yeah, we'll get things figured out when we get back. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.
Watch movies. Hit no one.
Depends on what they say about your wife.
Well, that's true.